Hey everybody, where my cluster C's at? Could you imagine if we had like a secret hand sign where in public, if we recognize each other in the wild, we could give each other like the secret sign, and then we would know that we don't really want to talk to each other, but we want to acknowledge each other. That might be convenient. I don't know how that would work really, but today I want to talk about the hedgehog dilemma, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's a concept where a bunch of hedgehogs that have quills want to get close together in cold weather, but they can't because if they get too close, they hurt each other. So they have to keep their distance. And it's meant to describe human intimacy where we want to get close, but we can't because we hurt each other, right? I've done some thinking about this, and I don't, with people with our condition, or at least I'll say this, speaking for myself, I don't fear that I'm going to hurt anyone by being close to them. I fear that they're going to hurt me. I am very comfortable being alone. So I have structured my day so that I am alone almost all waking hours. I spend some time with my wife here and my kid here, and then I work, but even my work hours are usually by myself. And so I've really got it kind of nailed down where I really only interact with people maybe 3 hours a day, and most of that is work. The rest of the time I'm by myself. And part of me needs that. Like I'm so introverted and I get so anxious around other people that it burns my battery down very quickly. So I'm much more comfortable being alone almost at all times. But what I've noticed, and especially since COVID, I think COVID changed all of us. And not even just the illness itself, just living through that period of time changed all of us. But I always had this condition. I was always very introverted and valued my alone time. But after the stress of that whole thing, I really shrunk. And I got to a point where my tolerance for people was almost nothing. And I got to the point where I was really avoiding everything else, friends, hobbies, and I was just staying home in my room by myself. My daughter and my wife are around the house somewhere, but I'm not with them. I'm on my own doing my own thing. And that became very, very comfortable. And when I wasn't there, it's all I wanted to do was go back to that and be alone again. And just that's where I could recuperate, that's where I could regain energy, and that's where I felt safest. And so in these last few years, that has become my pattern where I've really kind of pushed everything away that I possibly could and remained alone as much as possible. And for a long time that was comforting, and it just allowed me to recharge and just to feel better. But the problem is when the only thoughts and voices that you hear are your own, that's the only voice you're listening to, you're not getting perspective. You're not getting objective perspective from outside. And I need that. And so now I'm in this conundrum where I'm most comfortable alone, and I feel like I could stay like that forever. But then I realize that if I'm like that for too long, my thoughts, which are often distorted because of the AvPD, I have these, I just feel like, I get very negative about myself, and I get very down on myself, and then I start listening to those voices. So you're an idiot, you're stupid, you always screw up, you can't do anything right, and then just all these very self-critical voices. And when that's the only voice that you hear, you will believe it, and you'll start to find evidence for why it's true. So I realized that while I was extremely comfortable spending that much time alone, it wasn't healthy. So then now I'm in this place where I'm trying to find this balance of being around people, friends, getting input, activities, that I used to do a lot more than I do now, that I don't really want to do. like a big, deep part of me just wants to stay home, and I want to do what I do here, and I want to write stupid little songs, and I want to, read books and watch movies, and that's really, and that's all I want to do. But that's not healthy. I have to have outside perspective, and I got to get those voices, and that pulls me back into a place where I'm not as negative, and it's simply not my own voice echoing back at me all these negative things about myself. So that's the hard part for me, finding that balance. And I have pushed myself to do that in these last few years, getting back into the music scene, the local music scene a little bit, and trying to be around friends a little bit more. And but it's hard. I get out there, and the first thing I want to do is go home. And I'm just, the whole time I'm there, I'm just feeling, go home, go home, go home. And I got to like force myself to stay there. But this other part of me is actually having fun. This other part of me is actually enjoying seeing my friends and doing the things that I always used to do. But I get this nagging voice that just says, hey, leave early, go home, go home. So that's what I'm fighting now, is finding that balance between the two. As comforting as it would be to just close my door and stay home, I know that I can't. I have to force myself out there, and I have to interact, because finding that balance is what's going to keep me sane. That's what's going to keep me okay, I guess, right? So how is that for you? Do you find the same thing? Do you listen to those voices that just tell you to stay home? Watching a lot of videos and reading accounts, it seems like we all go through these periods where we listen to that voice and we stay home. And but do you have that pull to get outside, and are you able to exercise it? Are you able to actually get yourself up and go out there? And by the way, I'm not just talking about depression. Obviously, staying home and just isolating is a depressive symptom, and we all have that from time to time. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about, like, I feel relatively normal. I feel okay. I'm being productive, all these other things, but I just don't want to be around people. I don't have that battery right now, but yet I have to build that battery. I have to get back to the place where I can sustain that amount of contact, because pre-COVID, I had my limits, but I could spend a couple hours at band practice. I could spend a couple hours going to shows. I could spend, but now if I can last a half hour, and that's not even conversation. One of the reasons I really like music events, like small local music events, is because there's these half-hour blocks where the band is playing and I don't have to talk to anyone. I just stand there. And then I could talk to somebody for like 5-10 minutes, and then I go back to, you know what I mean? So it's one of these strategies that I have, subconsciously figured out for myself. But that's how I'm dipping my toes back into getting out there and being social with people. So that's for me, music is my thing. But for you, when you're not in a cripplingly depressive state, are you able to find this balance? Do you have friends? And here's another question. Are you able to sustain your social needs online? Because that's something that I've wondered about myself. There's times, usually in like darker moments, when I'm like, I know I need people, but maybe I can do this all through Facebook. Maybe I can do all this through just Messenger and all these other things, and not actually have to have FaceTime with other people. But a big part of me says, that's not right. That's you kind of sliding back into that comfort zone of just isolation and walling people off. And we've been there, and we know that's not good. We know that's not healthy. So I'm looking for feedback. If you deal with the same thoughts, if you've found a way to strike that balance, or if you're in the place where I am, where you're still trying to like figure it out and get to that place. And if it is working for you, how did you find that balance? So leave some comments below, or even better, if you feel confident enough about it, make your own video and send that video to me, because this is a good way to communicate. I saw somebody on YouTube the other day who is making avoidant videos, and they wear a mask. They wear like a ninja mask, and that's cool. I mean, I like that too. I understand why you would mask up like that. Whatever you got to do, but let's get talking. Let's get interacting a little bit. All right. That's it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next time. Let me know if you guys have ideas. And that's it. Cluster C.